for coming. We know that you're waiting for the main event a little while from now, but we are required by law to have a truth in taxation hearing. So this is probably our best attended truth in taxation hearing. Welcome to Lakewood School District 65 Board of Education Truth in Taxation hearing for December 12, 2017. Please have a roll call.
Certainly. Mark Barry.
Present.
Philip Hood.
Present.
Julie Gottschall. Present. Leanne Charlo. Present. Richard Haig.
Present.
John Morozen.
Present.
Susan Meyer. Present.
Great. We have a quorum. We can begin. And the purpose for the truth in taxation hearing is to allow individuals the opportunity to be heard and comment on the proposed 2018 tax levy. To begin the process, our business official, Mr. Jay Kahn, is going to take us through this, the highlights of the tax levy, the proposed tax levy.
All right, well, as Mark explained, this is the truth in taxation hearing that we have for transparency reasons to allow the community to comment on our proposed tax levy. This levy is the request that we're making for taxes for operations for the 2018-19 school year. It's based on property values as of January 1st, 2017. It's based on 2017 property values that will be collected in July and September of 2018. The parameters used to calculate the levy are the CPI, which was 2.1% in December, and the equalized assessed value, so property value, is estimated to increase by about 4.5%. And then we expect, because it's a normal year, we expect property values to kind of go up in together in sync. This is just data from the township assessor showing the property assessments. The way they get the increase in property value is they take the average of the sales for the last 3 years, so from 2014, 15, and 16, and they use those numbers to calculate the increase in assessed value. Charlie, can you new property is also factored into the equation. The way that the truth in taxation, or the way that the tax levy works, is that it's designed to give the school district an inflationary increase to account for normal inflation in cost of goods and services, and then there's a new property component to increase revenue to accommodate new students that come along with the new property. We're expecting new property to be about $3.5 million, and you can see that in historical terms that's about average. This is an example of our projections. These projections already assume a CPI increase and an average of about $3 million a year in new property. So you can see that the way our line is pretty much horizontal where we want it to be. I want to maintain our fund balance, and in order to do that, we are going to need to ask for an inflationary increase in the operating tax levy. So the recommendation of the administration is to ask for an increase in total taxes of CPI to keep our fund balance in the desired range and to keep our revenue growing with the growth in our expenditures. We want to capture all the taxes from the new property, and noting that our debt payments with the new property will absorb some of our debt payments. So just in real dollars, the CPI is 2.1%, where our EAV is expected to be $671 million, a change of 5.2%, $3.5 million of which is new property. The levy recommendation for operations, the base recommendation is $14.97 million, which is again the CPI increase of 2.1%. We are asking for another $80,000 from new property. The 14.9 comes from existing property. We're rounding up a little bit just in case our new property estimate is off for a total levy of about $15 million, which is a 2.9% increase in operating expenditures over last year. But our rate is actually going down by 2% because the property values are going up faster than our levy increase. Just to look at debt service, the debt service tax extension is to increase 1.3%. This is to pay the interest and principal on outstanding bonds already issued, and So our total tax extension would be $17.2 million, an increase of 2.7%, and again, a rate reduction of 2.5%, given that our property values are going up more than our revenue. And so that's the recommendation of the administration.
And Jay, this is, remind me, this is like the third or fourth time we've gone over this or
Yeah,
more?
we presented it in September, and then again in November, October and November, and so this is the fourth time that we're seeing it. We went in depth the first time we presented it, explaining how our taxes were calculated and what we do with the money, and then have had more cursory presentations since then, since the board has already seen it.
And if I were a community member and wanted to look at this PowerPoint is on Board Book, right?
It's on board, and I believe it's on our website as well.
It might be worth restating in the fact that just because the tax rate's going down 2.4% doesn't necessarily mean your taxes are going down 2.4%.
Right. Obviously, your individual taxes are made up by the assessment, the property value, and the tax rate. And so when you multiply those two together, you get your taxes. So it also goes we would also say that if we're increasing our total taxes by 2.7%, that doesn't mean your taxes are going up 2.7%. If your assessments are going up faster than everyone else's, then your taxes will go up faster. If your assessment is going down or not going up as fast as everyone else's, your taxes would increase by less or could even decrease. So this, again, what we ask for is an aggregate amount of money, and then the assessor divides up that aggregate pot to individual properties based on your individual assessments.
And on top of that, we represent about 40% of the tax bill, so there are other components of the total tax bill.
Yeah, exactly. This impacts 40% of that bill.
There's one, in the interest of not starting our next meeting till 7, I just want to take a minute to point something out. I think it was the prior slide, that one. So it's relevant since we have a relatively big audience. I'll just talk a little bit about what those dotted lines mean. It's the dotted lines on that chart that go across time, and then the black line that goes across line. We're obviously operating in today's environment, right? But we are planning, this board is planning, as all boards must, for the future. And what we're watching is to make sure that that black line stays within those two dotted lines, right? And we have to make sure that what we request in taxes enables us as best we can to keep that black line within those two dotted lines. Basically, those two dotted lines are the range for our fund balance policy. And so right now we're right in the middle of it. And we're projected to stay in the middle of it for a few more years. But we keep our eye on that, and it means that we're healthy and operating effectively and with the proper amount of margin, but not too much margin as we've had in the past. But I just wanted to alert the public to that notion that that's 5 years out, but it's slowly going in a direction that we prefer it not go. We have to continually pay attention to that.
I think it's also worth pointing out that when the fund balance was much higher, one of the things that we were able to do with that was do the renovation of the middle school with those funds. So that's why it went down.
Right.
But we didn't have to come to the public for a large request of public resources.
So I keep hoping that trajectory just keeps stretching out and we have that level black line for as long as possible.
Any other comments from the board? We also offer the opportunity for anybody from the public who would like to address the board and make a comment about the proposed tax levy. Please feel free to do so now. If not hearing any other comments from the board, I'll ask to adjourn this tax hearing at 6:55. A motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:55?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Bay, can you go down and tell the middle school kids
Opposed?
they can come out?
No. So this tax hearing is adjourned. We'll begin our regular meeting at 7. We're just committing to the time slot for broadcast purposes. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. Now we're going to call our regular meeting to order so we can then get right to the feature of the evening. Welcome everybody to the Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education regular meeting for December 12, 2017. Can we please have a roll call?
Susan Ryder. Here. Philip Hood.
Here.
Mark Berry.
Present.
Leanne Charlotte. Present. Julie Gottschall. Present. Richard Haig.
Here.
John Rosen.
Here.
All right, we've got a quorum. We can begin. Before we go to the entertainment, can we all stand and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now I turn it over to the Encore performance.
Good evening. Hi. How's everybody doing tonight? Because you can't see me, is that why? No, we're all good here. All right. I would first like to take this opportunity to thank the school board, Dr. Sophie, Principal Blackmer, for providing this opportunity to showcase the talents of the LBMS students. I also want to personally thank the board, members of the administration, parents, and the Lake Bluff community for their consistent support of the fine arts. This support surely aided as I was named a Golden Apple finalist and Teacher of Distinction earlier this year. It is an honor to represent LBMS and District 65 as part of the Golden Apple Academy of Educators. The holiday season is a wonderful time to reflect on all we have to be grateful for. It is also time to lend a helping hand to those in need to make their holidays brighter. I want to thank the LBMS chorus students, Reach Out Club, families and community members who recently took part in a holiday food drive, which collected over 2,000 pounds of donations the night of the chorus concert to help our local families in need. The generosity of the Bluffer community never ceases to amaze. Thank you again for your support in encouraging students' interest in music and the performing arts. And now, without further ado, here's Encore. No, honey, this one's first.
Be exalted,
second, I'll fast forward, guys. We're good. Sit down now. When you're How did that? No. How about should we just throw a little acapella? When you're down and out and there seems no hope at all, but if you just believe, then there's no way we can fall. When we stand together as one, we are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice to make. Just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice to make. Just you and me. 3, 4. Crazy technology. Thank you so much. We appreciate. Aren't they killer? That was amazing. I'm
Thank you.
on that table?
Less than 1% reporting.
I've got some. I lose them everywhere.
It'll be that. I'll see you in the morning.
That's what I have too. But I lose them everywhere.
It's quite something.
I just have them.
Crazy times. Maybe you live in interesting times.
Have a good night. Thanks for being here. You don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting? No. There'll be no one. There's the mosquito board.
Are the books for Encore?
No, they're for booster season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do. Right in.
Okay.
Stack of books and a deck of biscuits.
Phil, your son is a mini-me of you.
Thank you.
He is. He looks just like you.
He's fortunate he inherited his mother's personality. Ellen, on the other hand. Yeah. She's cursed.
I think so.
Her grades are right.
I think
That's good.
you know, it's really cool. I'm going to give a quick report probably.
All right. The sole survivors. We're going to continue and offer the opportunity for public comment. If anybody in the audience would like to address the board, please feel free to do so now. Not seeing anybody rush forward. We'll also offer the opportunity to the board if anybody would like to offer a discussion item, a future agenda item, or something that needs to be discussed. Please do so now. Not seeing any yet.
You want me to give a brief update on transportation? Is now a good time to do that, or no?
Wherever you want.
Sure.
Just more of a comment that we had our second transportation committee meeting last month. I thought it went pretty well. We are going to be drafting, I'll be working with Jay, drafting a memo out to the community, just laying out the issues, also inviting comment through the form of a survey. Everyone thought that it would be really important to have the community engaged at that level before we bring things back to the board. I think March is our time frame, so looking to get some good input from that, and just wanted the board to know about that.
I think we're moving it up a little bit because we're going to need to be voting on it in February. So I talked to Jay about it. I think it's really important because not only are we soliciting feedback, but we're letting people in the community know that there's going to be some decisions that are made.
Right.
So
I think we can have that turned around and out during break. But the committee, next time we will meet is the January 29th.
perfect.
So,
Great.
All right. So we're going to move on to item 7, our reports, and we are not going to have reports from the schools or PTO or Alliance report this month.
Alliance, he's supposed to be here, but I don't see
him.
him.
We're going to move right on to item E. Mr. Khan has a update on the facilities plan, correct?
Yes. We have a contract. We're working with White to assess the condition of all of our facilities and to develop a 20-year facility plan so that we can do some long-term capital budgeting, and that we have agreed on some terms, and it's below the amount at which the board needs to approve it, so we're going to go ahead and work with White to build this plan, and we should be getting started right after the new year and have something in time to talk about it in June as part of the budget for next year.
Also, the facility plan will be implemented in the first year of the strategic plan. So I already know that that will be one thing that will be accomplished in the 18-19 school year.
Great.
Good.
it's been asked for a long time. That's good. Appreciate it. You done?
Yes.
Okay. And nothing from Dr. Rubinstein tonight, and nothing from myself.
I have a quick
Dr.
one.
Sophie will provide a superintendent's report.
Briefly, I wanted to mention that we have the results back of the community-wide survey, as I shared in your board updates. Very, very interesting feedback for the village, the park district, and the schools. The strategic planning company will be presenting to their boards on January 9th, and then they will be presenting to our board on January 16th, so you'll hear the results. Everything is totally in alignment with our strategic plan and things we need to be considering, so very positive feedback. I wanted to remind all of you, and I will be reminding parents, it's that time of the year once again that we start talking about snow days. I want to say that rather quietly because I'm not hoping to take any. We do have an extensive process to determine if we're going to take snow days. I meet regularly with the North Shore superintendents. We evaluate our transportation through Olson. We evaluate the wind chill based upon the actual chart that the government publishes. I'm in regular conversations with Mike Sonic in Lake Forest. But like I said before, we are not counting on any snow days. However, I will tell you the Farmer's Almanac and many of the reputable weather people are stating that it may be a heavy snow year. So I just thought I'd share that with you. If you want to debate that, you may talk to Jay, whose father is a big-time meteorologist.
Works with Tom Skilling.
Works with Tom Skilling.
Tom freaking Skilling?
All right. Okay, we're going to go on to discussions and go back to Mr. Khan about the elementary school facilities update. Jay's going to update us on some repairs, HVAC repairs, I believe, that are very important that we get approved and under contract so we can get some of this work done prior to the warm weather season returning in spring.
Yes, you should have a contract in front of you. We'll be asking for you to approve that later this meeting. And it is for White's Services for basically engineering to design a solution for the LBES air conditioning replacement. They've recommended that IHC manage the project, so we will probably secure IHC's services as well to go out and bid. And we need to have this contract signed in December so that we can get the bids out in January and then come back in the new year and have the board be able to present to you different options and their costs, and then make a decision so that we can order the equipment with enough lead time to get it in before the cooling season starts again next year.
Now, I know you've given us several brief updates on this already, but just for the record, can you just give a 2-second synopsis of what the problem is and why is it there?
Sure. We have 5 separate air conditioning units at the elementary school. There's 2 big main ones and 3 smaller ones. The two primary units are LB, or basically units 1 and 2, and unit 1 is completely failed. It's operating at 0%, and unit 2 is operating at 50%, and both need to be replaced. So White has suggested 2 possible alternatives. One is to replace both units with air-cooled units. These are water-cooled units, and just do a complete replacement. So we pull out the old units and put in new units, which will require crane and some other equipment.
They're all roof mounted.
They're all rooftop units. They're hidden up in the eaves at the elementary school behind these beams. And the second alternative would be to do a chiller similar to the middle school on grade behind the building, and then to cool water and to pump it up to the units and leave the units in place. And I believe they will cost roughly the same, but the advantage to doing that is that or if and when the other 3 units fail, then we could just pipe this in. This would have the capacity to be able to pipe the water to those units as well, and we would not have to replace those units in the future. So long-term costs may be a little bit less significant, but there are many pros and cons, and White will come in and explain all that to the board when we have some pricing and more details.
Is this $30,400 embedded in the original estimate that you made with respect to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the original estimate was kind of a broad estimate, not knowing, but all of those estimates that we got included architecture and engineering and things like that. So this is all part of the.
And what was that rough, the total rough estimate?
For the one unit, we were estimating $250,000, and that's been budgeted. If we need to do both units, there's some economies of scale, but I don't,
And the 250 includes this 30?
It includes this 30, right?
I do want to point out, Jay, that approval item did not make it on the agenda, so we're going to have to make the committee of the whole meeting a voting meeting to approve that, so we'll probably wind up to be about 2 weeks behind that.
Okay.
But I think the board understands the need to get it done, so do whatever you need to do and we'll get formal approval at the committee of the whole meeting.
Okay. I really, it's this the bidding, because I think White's been working this whole time with the understanding that we're going to be signing a contract. So
The other thing I want to point out too is that White is recommending that IHC handle the construction management end,
yes.
and that's who did construction management on the middle school, so it's a really positive experience with them in the past.
And the cost of that would not be large enough. It would just be part of the project cost, and it wouldn't be significant enough to have to bring a separate contract for board approval. It would be less than $10,000 for that.
And the air-cooled system alternative would prevent the sort of a problem that occurred currently from occurring in the future.
Exactly. The problem that we are having with the current units is due to the cooling water.
Right.
It's a very unusual system to put in a school. We're one of the few that have it. It's more of a industrial office building type system, and they're very difficult to maintain and to operate them. So I think those units, they would be very similar to the one we just put on the addition at the middle school, to a bigger unit, but very similar to that one.
I think I have two other quick comments. My reaction actually was much louder than Mark's about a chiller.
Sorry for not being
So
professional.
I had a couple very big comments on that, but after a lot of questions and talking to both Tom Carano and Craig, I think we have some good options. Chillers are very different now. There are not homes immediately behind the elementary school where we would put it. So I'm
The
re-
first BNI?
No, we can't hear it.
But learning point made for sure. So we are going to pay close.
We are going to pay very close attention,
Sound.
but they're really constructed very differently now. The other thing, though, that to keep in mind, Jay and I were at another meeting this week, not even thinking this may need to go to the village approval because of the size and where it would be located. So
The replacement of the units would not need architectural review, but the chiller
would.
So.
So just kind of put that on your radar, and we'll know more about that in the coming months.
I have a question about the lead status that we have or have had. Is there either of these two that are more environmentally friendly?
Neither would affect our lead rating.
That's what Craig shared with me too. Neither would impact that at all.
Yeah, they're both efficient. It's just a different method of cooling. So.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. For item 8B, the recap of the board self-evaluation. This is a lot for public benefit. People don't realize that the board does do professional development, and it's part of our board policy. Every 2 years, we do a board self-evaluation where a representative from the Illinois Association of School Boards, which is a professional organization, comes and moderates a session where the board meets. We did this in November 28th, and we were given surveys and questionnaires to fill out to help us identify issues that we need to be working on long term and make us a better, more effective board. Excuse me. And the moderator from the IASB puts together a list of next steps for us. And we wanted to share that with the community just to let you know that we are always working on continually improving. And the next steps that we are focused on have to do with finalizing our strategic plan, reviewing our current and updating the new board member orientation process, because there will be some turnover over the next few years. We want to consider working with the Lake Bluff or other local entities to offer a workshop in the fall for prospective new board members to perhaps encourage people to consider running for school board. And as an update, I did have lunch with somebody from Vote Lake Bluff, so her co-workers may be finding out about this at this very moment if they're watching this, but she's going to reach out to them and kind of get their read on it and then come back to us. We are going to, because of board turnover, need to develop a list of board president expectations, sort of like a job description or something a little bit more, leaning more toward a job description than we've had in the past. And Jean and I have gone back and forth a couple times already with a draft of that, and can share it probably any time going forward. And then whenever possible, we are going to remind the board to try to reach out to Jean prior to the day of the board meeting, so she has the opportunity to answer questions and collect information so they can make all our meetings run as smooth as possible. So again, this is just professional development. We do this every other year, and it's something that goes on behind the scenes that the community wouldn't be aware of otherwise, so we want to bring it to your attention. Anybody from the board have any comments on that process? Not hearing any, we're going to move on to item 8C, which is the strategic planning discussion, and I believe Jean is going to lead us through that.
We're going to start some work. I'm going to be monitoring time tonight. I thought I would start, if you're looking into board book, we want to start with the attachment called Mission Vision GP December 2017. And that has our mission, vision, and guiding principles on it, just to remind everybody what it looks like. So mission is to provide each student with quality instruction, learning opportunities, and educational environments that inspire academic achievement, personal growth, and responsible citizenship. As far as any discussion on this, I did go ahead, if you were interested, and gave you examples of mission statements from comparable school districts. I don't know if there were any that turned you on, but it just confirmed to me that I don't see mission statements as terribly inspiring. I see vision in most of our districts as a little bit more inspiring. So I'm reaching out to you, first of all, to confirm that we're happy with the mission statement, or are we going to work on that a little bit this evening?
I'm happy with it.
I'm happy with it.
Me too.
Okay.
I think, Rich, pretty good.
Rich, are you happy?
He's gone through several drafts.
Tickled pink.
All right.
The Thomas Jefferson of the school board over there.
We have vision. I think we were unanimous and everyone really enjoying and liking our excellence in education, enthusiasm for life, every student, every day. So the next thing that we're going to talk a little bit about is guiding principles. And I want to make a couple comments on guiding principles. First of all, there were 3 that we already talked about. And again, we can always change wording, but we had decided we wanted a fiscal discipline guiding principle. We want a guiding principle of students learn best when they are actively engaged and individually challenged to achieve their unique potentials, and effective and transparent communication with all stakeholders is essential for the district's success. Those are the 3 we had talked about. I had also brought to mind that it would be very nice, we had talked about adopting a guiding principle that the village has adopted, and the park district will do that also. In board book, if you wanted to look at that, that is your attachment 4076001. And those, if you look at the bottom of those, let's keep that one up right now. And then finally, as we look at guiding principles, Julie actually took the guiding principles based upon feedback from the strategic plan and did some wordsmithing and really did a great job of representing many of the guiding principles that we talk about on a daily basis here. So my question to you is, do you want to go through Julie's and agree or disagree? That might be a better way to start. The only thing I did not see, Julie, is an identical guiding principle from the village.
Right.
If we could decide on one then the park district will adopt the same one, so we all have the same guiding principle.
Is there one in particular that
will be the uniform guiding principle?
When we talked about it, we just said we would be bringing it to our boards. The village has adopted all of these. The one that I thought, you know, I would either take personal responsibility or cherish our history, culture, and legacy of excellence. Both of those kind of fit with school district. But that's really up to you guys.
I'd like to second Jack with integrity, accountability, and in the interest, best interest of all. If you gotta pick one.
Right. If I had to pick one, that would be the way. If we have to pick one, that seems sort of a little contrived to me, but I'm not against it. You know, we do have one that I proposed, which, you know, our district should reflect Lake Bluff's unique character and community spirit to try and create the principle that we have a unique community, and we want to be aligned with the principles of the village and the park district. But if we want to adopt one of these, I like the one that John suggested.
So basically, take their last bullet point and make it your first one?
No, he said the second bullet point.
He said the
after
second one.
integrity, accountability, and.
Well, I don't believe in any of that.
So I think first of all, it might be, let's leave that up. And Julie, if you want to walk us through yours, we could kind of talk about those. And there was only one area that I would suggest when you're all done, and that's the whole child. So I'll talk about that at the very end.
Okay.
And that may fit in one of your other ones.
Right. We had some discussion last time. We had the existing guiding principles, and I'd made proposals, and Susan said that the guidance you'd been given last time was to make them shorter, more pointed, and some other things. And so I tried to adopt those principles into my principles, and that's what we've done. So this is more closely aligned with what we already have, but I think it states things a little more crisply. So it really was more of a wordsmithing job than a great insight into what the guiding principle should be. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at it and has any feedback. I just think these things are best done when they're not done in an open session with the committee. We have something to work from, so I invite
I
comments.
really like this new draft.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really good. It takes some of the good points, the good ones from the earlier version, and improve upon them rather than restructure them. I really like it.
I do too. I like the all the different areas. As I said, the only thing because I keep referring back to the feedback from strategic planning. When we had met as an admin team, we even are going to have a whole entire goal on the whole child. And so somehow if we had, and that's something even the admin team could come back and write a guiding principle to bring to you with that.
Right, we do mention whole child in here under curriculum. Enhance curricular offerings such as fine arts, promote development of the whole child. I don't know that we want to say whole child more than once. Perhaps we modify that one or separate out the whole child concept.
The only thing I felt, I'm not sure where it fits or whether it's missing or not, but technology is such an important part of where we're going in the schools and in society. Well, yeah.
It hits it. It doesn't hit it hard.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it's just as important as any of the others. I mean, there's nothing here that says anything about, or provides an emphasis at least on our technology-driven curricular or whatever.
Technology.
I mean, in the original alternatives that you provided, it said innovative technology and curricula should be, you said explored, I thought utilized as a means to enhance the core learning experience. And I thought that was a pretty important statement to make, and it doesn't appear anywhere on the short list. So I just.
Can you read that to me again? Innovative.
It says, what Julie read it originally, innovative technology and curriculum should be, she said explored, I like the word utilized better, as a means to enhance the core learning experience.
And I think to keep the structure similar, we would take the should be out of there and just say enhance the core rather than the should be phrase, because the structures here don't say should or must, they just simply make statements.
And maybe rather than facilities, just make a technology heading, if that's what you'd like to do, or maybe just make it have a heading called technology.
Sounds good.
Our facilities should enhance the educational process, and a separate one on technology.
derived from the one that Julie had on that innovative technologies.
I just took that down.
That's right.
But yeah, just make sure to take the shirt
I
out,
have
because
that
none of
in
the rest
there.
of them have that.
All right,
I'm
so
gonna add a thought, if you, unless you wanna
Right.
clarify something first.
no.
The only comment, I thought they were great too. I think short, sweet, to the point. I like that. The one that I had questions about was curriculum, which currently reads enhanced curriculum offerings such as fine arts promote development of the whole child. And in the past, our prior guiding principle was fine arts are fundamental to an exceptional educational experience. I always felt like, since I've been on the board, the feedback I got from the community is that there's a big reason people come to this community is because of the commitment to fine arts and the education program. And it seemed like we were making that a little bit secondary in the positioning of it there. And I wonder if we thought that, unless we're changing, where we stand on all this, but I thought it might be useful to elevate the way we phrase that a little bit. It's something that I think is unique, maybe not unique to the district, but it's something we've in the past prided ourselves on, and it has attracted people to the community, and tons of kids are involved in it in all our schools.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think the only one that I would tinker with is probably that very one, because it does make fine arts as if it is just simply one of
Like a
many.
secondary
And I
kind
think
of thing.
I think the way it was stated before is more closely aligned to the way we think of it, as being, of primary importance.
Yeah, my thinking on it was different. I thought that to just focus on fine arts, when you look at how global all of these principles are, very broad concepts, that narrow focus on fine art seemed too narrow to me, so I tried to broaden it. And I actually think when you take a further step back and think about curriculum, that's really what we're going to say about curriculum. Maybe there should be more emphasis just on the core curriculum and less on fine arts, or something that
Maybe split it into two things.
all of those. Perhaps.
That's what it seemed like to me too. Because really, think about our curriculum, fine arts is important and we can keep that, but we really focus on having a robust curriculum that builds kids that are ready for high school.
Right, I like that. I like that concept, which isn't.
I'm writing
So
notes so
they-
we can come bring something back to you.
And perhaps we don't want 20 of these, but I would
You
suggest,
can have as many as you want. 'Cause
I would suggest those both deserve
As maybe separate.
their
separate.
own.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
like
got
that
it.
idea too.
I like that. I would though still say something more than simply fine arts. I'm not sure exactly what, but
let me do this right now. I've got I'm adding the technology. I'm changing the back one to facilities and taking the word technology out of. Right now I'm going to put in the old fine arts so you guys can see it and play with it a little bit. In curriculum, we're going to rewrite something about a robust curriculum to ready all students for high school and beyond, or something.
that sounds good.
So I've got all that. I need to get back though to the guiding principles. Do you want to keep nature of community, or in the spirit of bringing everyone together, take one of those?
I would definitely. I'd like to keep this one. I think it speaks to the district and what in particular we're going to do. These are the broader ones. Again, if we really feel like we want to have one of the same, just to say we do, we can pick one. But I wouldn't replace this one. And then just to get back to your point, I don't know that we need the facilities one anymore. I certainly wouldn't keep it. If you take out technologies, I'd say something more about facilities. But I'm not sure. We've built the new schools. I don't know that we need to focus on that now.
But we always have to keep our facilities current, and there may be things that happen in 5 years that we need to make alterations in the building.
Okay.
I think it's a guiding principle that we should always have.
Oh, that's why we're doing the facilities management plan. That's been important to us. People have been asking us for that for years. Dave, you watching?
Okay.
So what does the rest of the board want to do on the community? Because it doesn't make any difference.
I wish there was better choices. I wish we had been involved in the process with the village earlier, and we didn't just take. We could have worked on something that worked better for all three of us, as opposed to.
Where did the idea originate from that we needed to have one in common?
We had conversations with Cathio. It wasn't at a tri-board meeting, but it might have been just, was it a tri-board meeting?
Well, what if under partnership we pick one of these?
Phil, you know where it
What
comes
if
from?
we-
Partly it comes from is we have these tri-board meetings and sometimes we have casual meetings with the three board presidents. We talk about trying to bring down the independent centers of power in our taxing districts, these silos of power that are competing for for fixed dollars. And one of the ways we thought would be helpful was to demonstrate to the community that we share values between these different taxing bodies, and we try to work together so we're not stepping on each other's toes, and we're doing things that are complementary between the different taxing districts as opposed to fighting for every penny that we get between the three of them.
Well, then,
And
So it sounds like a fiscal issue.
well,
Or
a partnership issue.
What I would say
more than just fiscal.
is we come up with another one. To just adopt one of these seems silly, but something that says, the community benefits when the village, the park district, and the school district act cooperatively.
I
or
like
that.
something like that. It's a shame that
See if they can.
they hadn't already.
Well, we could-
They went so fast, but
The community benefits.
when the relevant when the taxing, Julie does it.
Yeah, when the village, the park district, and the school district work cooperatively or something like that, work in partnership.
Partner, yeah. That's
And I'm just add library.
Library, yes, at the library.
Yeah, don't pick a library.
What about the mosquito abatement board?
Nah, they leave them out.
The one that comes
May I
closest.
just leave them off?
Who are leaving out? Mosquito?
No, they're pretty important. You want coffee, Steve?
Mosquitoes?
All right, let me put these together. So as we wrap this up, are there any areas that we left off?
I think it's coming along pretty nicely.
So at the next meeting, Shelley, while I'm talking through this, can you bring up the Google Doc that I shared with you? At the next meeting, I will bring you the draft mission, vision, and guiding principles that I think that we are pretty much finishing up. I wanted to show you what we're working on. It's going to be, is there any way you can make it bigger?
I can't read that. You'll have to just.
And I can share it. This is good, if you could do that. We actually, when you look down at the bottom, we have a sheet for each of the goals. We renamed Goal 1 Student Achievement. Goal 2, we renamed the Well-Rounded Student. Goal 3, Finance and Operations. Goal 4, Communication. Goal 5, Community. We have new goal. And number 6, we said Educational Climate. Because those kind of aligned with the feedback we got. If you could go back to 1 then for me. As you know, with 1, we have Kevin's expertise in all the new ESSA expectations. And at the last admin team, we spent considerable amount of time breaking through what we're going to be accountable for reporting out on. The good news is we got that all down, and it really comes from feedback from the strategic plan. We know what actions and tools we're going to use. We don't know any baselines because we don't have the baseline information yet. But basically, we have everything down for Goal 1 already. And we'll be bringing that to you to go through, but that's done. If you look at Board Goal 2, we're working a little bit on that, actually over the holiday break, but that will encompass the performing arts, the whole child, social emotional learning, civic responsibility, balanced lives, growth mindset, academic clubs, and educational experiences, which we might combine those. These are just our thoughts. Goal 3, which I'm going to turn over, Jay's going to be doing a lot of work on this, but what metrics that we need to monitor: transportation, food services, facilities, reporting to the community, which is going to be very significant in the community feedback, balanced budget and fund balance policy. In Board Goal 4, these were my thoughts today. We need to worry about how we communicate with parents, community, staff, what our website looks like. What are we going to do with parent surveys? Should we give them every year, every other year? How are our schools going to communicate, the district communicate, teachers, etc.? So we broke Goal 4, our current one, into smaller pieces. As far as community, as you were talking through the last thing we were talking about, I may change that to partnerships. because I wrote down everybody we partner with. And we can talk a little bit about what the goals might be for that, because that is something we don't want to lose. There's been really significant relationships built that need to stay in a plan that a superintendent needs to be accountable for. And then finally in goal 6, we took pieces that were in all the previous goals and put them all in their own. It's really professional development for everyone, the climate, staff satisfaction, student satisfaction, staff retention, the safety for everyone, safety drills. So as you can see, we're really putting everything together. We're going to be coming up with methods for measurement, what our baseline is, and then start working on 18 through
Very
23.
ambitious.
So we're making great progress, and really with mission, vision, and guiding principles, and I have to thank Julie, putting all that work in it saved us a lot of time, Julie, and it's really sharp and to the point.
You deserve your ball.
I think everyone thanks you on that. And
Yes.
So one question.
Absolutely.
I noticed that you had on, under, I don't know, it was next steps or tools, I saw park listed.
Mhm.
But park is going away.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But we don't know what's going to replace it. So if you notice in Google, as assessments change, we're going to actually change the assessment.
Okay.
Here's the problem, and we were talking about this at many of the meetings that I was at last week. It's hard to do trend data because they keep changing the assessments. Unlike what we did in this last plan, which we still tried to just keep going, we may have to change the assessments midway in here. We don't know what's going on with the science assessments. We don't know what's going on with park.
And we wouldn't, could we use map? Because
We
that's
could,
been
that's on there.
consistent. Okay.
See, we actually put map and star in there
Okay.
because we felt like that was more reliable,
Mhm.
knowing that some of us, is there another grade level that's moving in a star? What's happening with
Well, for
that?
math, it only said park, right? That's why I was curious.
So some of those are, as Dr. Sophie talked about, are aligned to what's in the state ESSA plan.
Okay.
So we are trying to do we're trying to do as much duplication as possible to
Right.
say, if the state is measuring us in growth using park, then let's measure students that same way.
Park.
So the state is using park as a growth measurement year to year. So we're going to get a good readout of how all of our subgroups grow year to year and what that looks like. And so why wouldn't we use that as a subgroup measurement and what that looks like year to year? That's why you see that on there.
And if you use
Until we
map or
change it.
Right. But if you use map or star, then you can't compare to what other districts are doing, right? Because that's not published.
That's correct. And so that is the challenging piece of that. It's not publicly reported.
So we're on it. I think it just, the last time we did strategic planning, we were still under a mindset that we might have something for actual 5 years. And now we all have a different mindset, knowing it's fluid year to year to year to year. So, and that concludes the strategic planning discussion.
More later. Yep.
More later.
All right, so now we're going to move on to action items. And the very first one is 9A, which is a number of board policies coming before the board for first read. I want to thank our board policy committee for reviewing 34 policies. And I'm not going to read them all. They're all in the board packet if anybody watching at home wants to get into the nitty gritty. However, there are 34 total. There's 3 under school boarding, 1 under administration, 7 under operational services, 9 in general personnel, 6 in instruction, and 7 students, and 1 under community relations. It's a lot of material, so thank you for all your work. Do you guys have any comments before we vote to approve the first read?
I have one question that one of the policies sort of evoked in my mind, and it's in line a little bit with the discussion, but do we have do we store, it's with the identity protection one, and the recent hacking of files in North Carolina, do we store our digital information off-site somewhere?
Some of it is stored off-site and some of it is stored on-site. But we,
So if we're hacked and they tear us down ask for a random, are we in trouble?
Well,
A ransom.
Right.
I mean, they have it, that's.
we have backups, so, and we have a cyber liability insurance policy, and two, we have, our single path, our third party consultant has, advised us and set up backups, and policies for protection for things like that. But, we don't, I think we have different systems, and some of that data is housed in different areas, but they're all certified in compliance and for following protocols to keep
So you
things
feel
as well.
confident that if we were taken down completely, you can be up and running within a few days
Yes.
from the backup? Okay.
So this happened at a school in North
North
Carolina?
Carolina school was hacked and the ransom was $25,000 and they refused to pay it because they were afraid that it was going to end up like a waterfall. So what they had backup.
Yeah, we have backups
I
and
didn't know whether we had backup.
recovery
Most companies, most corporations obviously have backup, off-site backup in several locations. I just was curious as to whether we did. Sounds like we do.
we do.
Does the policy committee have anything they want to add on these policies? Any general comments on that?
I would say in terms of the volume of these, that administration did a really great job of setting this up. So it's very well organized, and some of them we're strictly looking at to review, and some of them are things that our attorneys or press have looked at and told us what we need to do. And then on a few of them, it was more substantial conversation, but I appreciate the advanced work that you guys do.
Yeah.
Set that up.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve board policies for first read?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
John Morozen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes. So how many times do those come back before they're finalized?
Well, it will come back for a final read in January. I think because we're gonna have to make the town meeting and approval meeting, we'll do it there because we need this all done and ready for our compliance visit.
Okay. And item 9B, we're going to ask for a motion for a resolution authorizing a supplemental property tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of the district. Jay talked a little bit about this at our November board meeting, but do you want to give us a brief review on that?
Sure. This is unique to bonds that were sold relative to our debt service extension base, which increases every year by CPI. So when the bonds were issued, principal and interest payments also increased by CPI. And so this is just a routine procedure to essentially tell the county clerk that, hey, our debt service extension base increased by this much this year, and allows him to extend enough taxes to cover the principal and interest of the existing bonds. So we're not levying or we're not increasing our debt. We're just telling the county clerk to extend the amount of the debt service.
Anybody have any questions on that? Comments? All right, may I have a motion to, thank you, Jay. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a supplemental property tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of the school district number 65, Lake County, Illinois.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
John Morozen?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Item 9C, certification of tax levy. The final tax levy approval is brought for final approval, and Jay has presented this in detail at our 6:45 meeting. Is there further comment or discussion or anything we need to hear from Jay on this? Not hearing any. May I have a motion to approve May I have a motion to approve certification of the tax levy?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
John Morozen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
The motion is approved. Item 9D, the personnel report. For this month, we have 2 items. Under non-licensed terminations, a Larry Sternsheim, a teacher's aide at the middle school, did not meet requirements during a probationary period, and this is effective December 1st to 17. And we have a licensed FMLA request for Sarah Haslow, who's a teacher at the middle school, and the effective date is to be determined for a doctor's note. Any questions or comments on that? So may I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Item 9E, the consent agenda. This month's consent agenda includes 6 things. The open session meeting minutes from November 14th, 2017 from the regular Board of Education meeting. Closed session meeting minutes from November 14th, 2017, the regular Board of Education meeting, and November 28th, 2017, Board of Education self-evaluation. It includes the treasurer's report, the impressed report, the bills report, including board member expenses, and the P card report. Would anybody like any of that pulled out to be discussed outside of the consent agenda? No? Okay. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for December 12th, 2017 as presented by the administration?
So, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Richard Haig?
Yes.
Philip Hood?
Yes.
Susan Ryder?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte? Yes. Julie Gottschall, yes.
Motion is approved. Finishing, if that's all the action items for the evening. There were no FOIA requests, correct?
I believe there was one
There's one.
in the lot, one.
Okay, so there's one in the log, if anybody wants to see the details of that. We offer the opportunity to, anybody make public comment, address the board at the end of every meeting, so if anybody would like to do so, please feel free.
Who gave us the wine?
Me.
Thank
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Merry Christmas.
And with that,
Merry
we'll
Christmas.
celebrate.
Mine's already being chilled. I handed it off.
Happy holidays to all, and we have a motion to adjourn at 7:59.
So moved.
Second.
We'll see you in
All in favor?
2018.
All in favor?
Wow.
Bye.
All
All right.
opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.